And welcome to the Total Wealth Academy video podcast, where we try to bring you successful investors in all ranges, from maybe they picked up their first two homes, or maybe I'm going to have a guy on here if I can get him that has literally bought $1 billion worth of real estate over the last 12 years. Today with me is Chris Hooter, and he is unaware of the questions I'm going to ask, but I want to let you know these are candid interviews from real investors who took charge of their lives and made big differences. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let me start off. I always want to know what motivated you to make a change, and because you weren't always a real estate investor.
Not at all.
And what was the impetus? What was the thought process that said, I'm going to start building some wealth on the side with real estate?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have some assets that I could deploy to do something like this. But historically, I'd just not been interested in real estate. It's very interesting. I had a conversation with my sister and brother-in-law about a year ago, and he had been in the buy and sell or flip business for decades. His previous wife had passed away, and he had been out of it for 3 or 4 years. But he was getting back into it, and so just kind of talking to him. He was giving me kind of the lowdown on how it worked. He was actually in Florida before the 2008 crash.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had some stories and whatnot, and they were doing, my sister and Lily and Mark, they were doing some flips here in town, and they were just sort of explaining the process to me, the process of hard money loans, things like that.
Sure.
And so I said, well, okay, why is it called a hard? What is a hard? What does that mean?
Yeah.
I had no idea. So she goes, well, I said, how much interest is that? She goes, well, you got to pay 2 or 3 points. And I go, well, what's a point? And you go, well, it's like an interest, okay, but it's due in 30 days. Okay.
Wow. So at that point, you knew nothing about real estate investing.
I mean, nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I think she's trying to get me to kind of loan her money.
Gotcha.
So I'll give you what her hard money, Red Door, whoever it was, So that was kind of how it started, and I kind of wrapped my head around that. So anyway, so I said, okay, so at the end of the day, your project's going to take 6 months. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so if I give you $1, what do I get back? Well, you might get $1.07 or $1.08. Well, I go, well, that's 6 or 7%, and 7 or 8% in 6 months. That's like 14, 15%.
Right.
I go, well, okay, and then from there I go, well, maybe since I am fortunate enough to have some financial assets, why don't I just do this, get into the game myself? So that's what I did. And at first I sort of partnered with them, but we had slightly different visions. Anyway, one thing led to another.
So did you actually loan them some money, or did you
go
in as a
made
50-50 partner?
We made 2.5. We made 2 purchases together.
Okay.
And both of us went in 50-50. And then in the first one, it was a wholesale through Trey Hubetler. What is his name? Trey,
Albadier.
So, yeah. So through Trey, and that was my first experience with a wholesaler.
Okay.
And it wasn't very much. I think it was $130,000 or something like that. And so she put up 65-ish, and I put up 65-ish. And we had, well, I want to get into the details of how it went from there, but oh well, Chris, I'll buy you out. Okay, so she gave me my $65,000 back, and so she owns that property. Meanwhile, we had before everything went south, we came across another flip opportunity in Austin.
Okay. And
the idea was that, look, they know the Houston area, and then I have family and friends on that I-35 corridor.
Sure.
Between Austin, Waco, and DFW, So I said, well, I'll go over there, and I can do it on the cheap because I can stay with buddies and family and things like that, and you guys concentrate on Houston. So anyway, I got a good realtor in Austin, and we found a property. It was a 1,400-ish square foot bungalow built in 1964.
I know those properties.
Yep, it's in University Hills, which is right there on the southwest corner of 290 and 183.
Okay.
So that's where it was. So it was on the right part of town if you're driving in from Houston. Okay. So we spent $330 on it.
That included the rehab?
No, that did not.
That was just the purchase price.
That was the purchase price. Then I learned about, speaking of that, so then I learned about how we do. See, I am actually a resident of Canada.
Okay.
Okay. So in Canada, we prepay property tax.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's like insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have, in your T accounting, you've got a prepay account, and you work it down each month. Okay. Well, so I didn't really understand. Okay. What is this big credit? We're buying it for $330, but we're only paying $220. I don't understand. Well, that's the property tax credit because they were there. We closed the middle of October.
Gotcha.
So so if it's $7,000 for a year, well, it's nine and a half months into that, whatever that is,
Right.
because you don't pay that till December or January the next year, right?
Right.
So okay, I get that. All right, okay. So, but anyway, I ended up paying the property tax. So obviously we paid $330. She went in half, I went in half, and then I bought her out of that one. So that's how that one went.
Was there a conflict, or you just felt like you wanted to go different direction?
Well, I don't. Well,
you can just say there was a conflict.
Well,
you don't have to go into detail.
When you go into business with other people,
Especially relatives.
you just make sure you have a good conversation. Just make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I joke about in my Saturday class is never partner with relatives. It sucks. Now here's how to do it so it doesn't suck. And you don't just need an agreement. You need a spirit behind it.
That's right.
As well as the agreement.
That's right.
And every responsibility has to be laid out.
Yes.
And you can't have any two people responsible for the same thing.
I agree.
It will never get done. You lay out, you do this, this, and this, and I'll do this, or it's never going to work.
And we tried to do that, but I guess we failed. I love my sister. I'm not here to, but anyway, I don't want to be in business with her, so we'll leave it at that.
Well, what type of industry were you in where you accumulated the wealth? That was from your job?
Well, no, I made my money the old-fashioned way. I inherited it.
Okay.
Okay. So, but I was in the States, we'd call it a W-2 employee.
Okay.
But in Canada, we would call it a T4 employee. And then I was laid off just as COVID hit.
Wow.
So I was in industrial construction. I was in northern Alberta, we would call it the oil sands, but down here we call it the tar sands.
Okay.
And then so once that happened, I'm 53 years old. I have a younger wife. I got a baby. I got another baby on the way.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you, and thank you twice. But I figured, maybe this is time for a reset. So COVID actually presented an opportunity for me to kind of reset, and so I came here. I think I came here in June,
Okay.
and I attended a couple of your seminars, and then I joined as a ComRes member, and then I was all in at that point.
Gotcha.
And so some people have tried to hire me since then, and I said, no, I'm kind of doing this. This is what I'm doing full time now. And I say that because I was very successful in this first flip in Austin.
Well, question. On the layoff, were you expecting that, or was that just a blindside?
No, I was sort of accepting it.
Yeah.
And in construction, that's not uncommon,
Even
though I was an office guy.
A lot of the people I'm consulting, they saw it coming.
Yeah.
And they stayed waiting for it to happen. But then there's some really wise people who say, I saw it coming, so I went ahead and quit.
Right.
And I wish I had been that way. I waited till I got a pay cut to start investing in real estate. That was what motivated me to start. So let's talk about how many flips have you done so far?
I have completely done one and buy and sold it and did very well, and I have two more currently in San Antonio.
How much profit did you make off of the first one?
I was about $410 all in. I sold it for $530 less commissions. I probably made about $88,000.
$88,000
in 5.5 months.
That was the next question.
So it's about 50% rate of return annualized.
Wow.
If you did the math.
Yeah, and people are satisfied with 7% in the stock market. That's
well. I was one of those people.
Were you?
So in fact, that's what it was. So it was my mutual fund assets were with Raymond James, and then that's about what we get. 7. Well, right now because the Fed is pump. We're doing a little better than that.
Yeah.
But historically, it's 7 to 8.5%.
Yeah, 75 years. The average for the last 75 years, including dividends, is 7%. And then I hear people going, well, I made 16% this year. And I have to remind them, you have to take the average.
That's right.
You know, our average in real estate on our single family houses, you know, you're getting on rentals, we're getting 18 to 24% every stinking year.
Right.
These guys that get 16% in the stock market, I go, well, what'd you do last year? -3.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, don't get excited about that because it's not consistent. The consistent number is 7, and that's just not enough to build wealth. What is your plan for the future? Do you continue just flipping, or do you plan on doing some passive investing? What's your plan?
Well, I was going to invest with the apartment queen.
Yeah, Kaylee.
Kaylee, yeah. Kaylee was a very interesting because I met Kaylee about 6 months ago in Dallas, Fort Worth area, and she's an impressive person, you know. I just liked her, you know, and I really wanted to. She had a complex and apartment complex that they were going to do, you know, and try to improve the capex, you know.
Sure.
And they were going to do that in Fort Worth, and I really wanted to invest, but because I'm a dual filer in 2 countries, I have to be careful what I do.
Gotcha.
So if I'm going to invest, it has to be with a C corporation, if it's a corporation, in order for me to get reciprocated fairly on both ends of the border.
Otherwise, you get taxed heavily?
I'll get double taxed.
Double taxed.
Double taxed.
Wow.
In fact, all my investments are. I wanted to do an LLC,
Right.
and select as an S corp, which is what most people do. But my accountants were howling, "No, don't do that, don't do that," because as an individual, taxes are fairly reciprocated. So if I'm a resident of Canada, but I'm a U.S. citizen, so if I pay $1 of tax in the States, then Canada says, "Oh, okay, well, he paid $1 of tax, so he's credited $1 tax," you know.
Gotcha.
And if you owe more in Canada, you owe more in Canada, you know. So, but my vibe is there's no such thing as an S corp except in the States. That the European and Canadian, they don't really know what to do with that, you know. Because
Gotcha.
it's kind of a corporation and it's kind of a sole proprietorship. It's got the liability protection
Right.
of an LLC or a C corp, but it doesn't have but it's not a sole proprietorship, you know.
And it doesn't give you the tax advantage that you need.
Correct. So I just do everything as Chris Hooter. I carry I make sure my insurances are up to date. I do carry a personal general liability policy on top of the builder's risk.
Sure.
Okay.
An umbrella.
An umbrella, yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's for those of you that are curious about what he's talking about. When you own real estate, whether it's a flip or a rental, you have a certain amount of insurance on the property. On a single-family house, about $300,000 liability. But then if you have 10 of them, 10 rent houses, you have $300,000 liability on each one and a $1 million umbrella policy over it. And that's what he's talking about. You did $2 million
Yeah.
because of construction.
Yeah.
I use $1 million for rental, and I should probably think about $2 million for flips because that's where you get injuries. That's, you know, when the
That's right.
construction is going on and so
That's
on.
right.
So that's probably a wise decision. So do you see yourself ever sponsoring or syndicating a little apartment complex? Have you thought about that?
Well, again, I'd have to juggle my. I'd have to talk to my accountants. You know, they all know Chris is calling again. You know.
Yeah.
I can just kind of hear him because I'm CCing my accountant in Canada and in North Dakota as well. I got 2 of them. They're right there by the border. You know.
Nice.
But it complicates things. So if I'm going to do anything like that, it's either going to be through me, Chris Hooter, the individual, or I'm going to have to C corp it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know,
Because the banks won't loan an individual on commercial property. They require you to have.
And here we go.
A
You know,
corp.
there you go. There's another angle. You know.
Yeah, they require you to have a corp or an LLC.
Yep.
Now there are some owner financed opportunities where you could buy one in your own name. That'd be pretty slick. That'd be real slick, and that's something you should look at. Is look for somebody who's willing to owner finance. So. You've got
There's a lot of that owner financing going out there too. You know, when you buy
is.
properties,
because if they sell it, what are they going to do with their money? They have to get it back into real estate almost instantly.
or there's a big capital gains.
yeah.
That's right.
They've
Which-
got to get.
which is funny. So I can't do a 1031. I cannot do that.
Okay.
Okay. So because there's no Canadian equivalent. So if I do that in the States, well, Canada's going to say, oh, well, he didn't pay capital gains tax. I'll pay it all to me. So
wonderful.
So I don't even do it. Okay. So I get taxed, So on that 90 grand or whatever I made on that first flip.
Is there any advantage to just doing away with your residency in Canada and just staying here?
Well, it's funny you should say that. So I was wooing my wife. Come on now, we gotta get south because that's where most of our activities are right now. Anyway, although I am pursuing some opportunities in Canada right now. Okay, but I was trying to woo her down. But then she got pregnant again, and she wants to be my mom and all that. So that ship has sailed for the time being.
And that's where she stays, is in Canada.
Well, that's right.
And
now,
she loves it up there?
Well, yeah. Well, that's where she's from. And, of course, then there's COVID protocols. And traveling is such it's awful.
Nightmare.
Yeah, so when I came down in June, it was pretty reasonable, You just kind of fly down. And when it's easy on the state side. When I returned, the first time I had to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So I go to the house, and I'm not supposed to leave for 2 weeks. Okay, all right. Well, the next time I came down, which was in September, October, I come down. It's easy. It's easy coming down to Texas. When I fly back, now you have to download an app on your phone.
So they know where you're at.
They're tracking you. That's right.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that something? So
scary.
I know. So but for the most part, no, I did. I behaved. I stayed home for 2 weeks like I was supposed to. But this time, to fly internationally, Okay, to fly out of Canada to the States, you can only do it out of Calgary and maybe Vancouver and Toronto, and I'm not in those areas.
Big areas.
Yeah, so you'd have to kind of go there, get a hotel, spend the night, catch the flight the next morning, kind of thing. And I'm going, I'm just going to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't need a COVID test to drive. You just drive. So I drove. It's a long ways. I got tired. Slept, got tired again, slept again. It took longer than it should have, but I made it, and I got my first Pfizer shot while I'm here, and I'm going to get my other one. So when I go back and they try to bully me into quarantine, I want to say,
"Here's my documentation. I'm clean for 6. Right. Is it 6 months that thing lasts?
Well,
4 or 6 months.
I think there's going to be an annual booster, and they did it so well. Now I got mine. Louisiana is where we're from, so I started there on my trip. I went to Louisiana, and you pulled up in the parking lot of the Coliseum there in central Louisiana. It was empty, but anyway, you pull up. The Louisiana National Guard was giving the shots. They said, "Are you allergic to anything?" I go, "No." Can you
pull up your sleeve? Pull up your sleeve.
Well, which shot do you want? So they had them all. They even had J&J, but J&J was on timeout, and they were on the naughty list at the time.
Right.
So I said, well, which one's shorter? They said, well, the Pfizer one has a quicker turnaround. I think it's 3 weeks. So, okay, well, give me the Pfizer one. And then you go park over there for 20 minutes or so, and just make sure you're doing okay. And after that, you just drive off. It was really easy. Yeah. And there's probably something like that here, too,
Yeah, there is. They didn't even make I saw a lady walk up to CVS. She was just in line with me. I was picking up a prescription. She goes, "I want the shot." They go, "Have a seat over there." Came out, popped it in her arm, and she left.
Oh, there you go.
So there was no 20-minute even wait, if they get dizzy or whatever. Crazy. So as a flipper, what's your goal for the rest of the year? I mean, and these foreclosures are coming. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity at the end of the year. You're building up your skills. You're going to be able to take massive advantage of that.
I'm hoping so. I did. So the first one I learned lots and lots in the first one. I really get along with my contractor.
Cool.
And his wife's a loan manager at a bank. So that's good too. So he's really in the know, and she has some great ideas. And so we work together well. But I'm not cheap. If he says I need this, and this, and I go okay, I pay the guy,
Yeah.
Because I've done the math. Everybody's got to make money. I insist my realtor, you take the 3%. I don't want to cut. Everybody's got to be there because I might hit a project where I need your help, and we'll worry about it then.
Right.
But it's important that everybody, I think, is treated fairly.
Yeah, that win-win mentality. I learned it from Stephen Covey. we always hear it as we're growing up.
Yep.
Think win-win. But it wasn't until I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that it gelled. And fortunately, that was before my real estate investing careers. So when I got into real estate investing, I was always looking, how are they going to make money? How am I going to make money? How does it work? And I'll tell you, I have people that do things for me that they never would have done if I hadn't have made sure they got paid. And one of the things I preach about is what you said, make sure your agent gets paid.
Yep.
These people that get insecure or jealous or whatever the word would be, greedy, because the agent's getting 6% total if they list it and sell it, it's like, let them have their 6%, because who are they going to call first when they find another great deal?
That's right.
You, because you didn't rip them off.
That's right.
So you're building a long-term relationship. That's an emotional bank account deposit they're never going to forget. So back to that question, I'm sorry. What's your goal for this year? 4 houses, 5 houses? What do you think?
Okay, well, let me answer this. Okay, so by treating the contractor fairly. So I tell you what he did before the big storm came.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm in Canada. I don't know what the hell's going on. Okay, so I figure out 24 or 40 hours later, there's a big storm in Texas that has killed all the power. Okay, so he just went over there and he winterized.
Took care of everything.
He shut the water off at the street. He drained all the lines. If he didn't ask me, he just did it.
Did it.
He sent me an invoice, and guess what I did? I paid it. You're damn right I did. So if I would have muscled him along the way and kind of, and we wouldn't have had the relationship we would have, he just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, that's a great story. If you take care of people, they go out of their way to return it.
Yep.
Steve Jobs said this. He said, I've never in my life asked for help that I didn't get it. And after I heard him say that, I began to think about it. Neither have I. I have never. It's like people go out of their way. That rule that you'll do 3 times as much for other people as you will for yourself is true.
Yep, I agree.
And so they look for ways to help you if you really are committed to them.
So back to my goals, though. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've done this one. So I have 2 in San Antonio right now. All right.
Okay.
If I could do 4 this year, I would be pretty happy.
4
this year, and then maybe 6 the next year. Okay. And I'd like to get to 1 a month.
12 a year.
Yeah, where I'm buying clothes in 1 a month. And
I understand.
That's you're in the money. You're doing good there.
That's when you're popping 60 to 100 grand a month.
Correct.
And it takes a good team. You're going to need more than 1 contractor, obviously.
Yep. And you'll probably be scattered. You may not be in the same spot.
That's the other thing. You're going to probably have to expand
Yep.
your area. But I do believe, well, let me ask you this. Are you trying to keep everything pretty close right now?
Well, you say close.
You're doing Austin and San Antonio?
Well, you say that Austin is crazy right now. And I've got some. So there was one property it was listed for $799, and it had been on the market a while. So I was trying to. I kept getting outbid. These $300,000 properties, and they're going for over 100 grand over, and I'm going,
right.
Well, and a bunch of investors are showing up, I go, well, I got to get out of the weeds here. So I tried to go long. So one was listed for about $799 or so, and it had been on the market a long time. And we put together a good bid of $825 cash, and my realtor, even though I insisted otherwise, said she would just take 2%.
Okay.
So that's saving the seller some money too.
Absolutely.
Yep. And it went for $900 cash.
Oh my God.
Okay. So what do you do? And then there was another one just 2 weeks ago, or so maybe it was 3 weeks ago now. It was a wholesale deal. Showed up. It's listed for $370. My realtor and contractor, they're both there. They're looking at it, and they say, yeah, do about $425. And I go, I don't know, $425. Let's just do $415. Okay. Anyway, it went for over $470.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's Austin's nuts.
Yeah. So
especially in that price range.
That's right. So I've kind of, well, even at the $1 million price range, that didn't help either. So I've tapped out of Austin right now. And then I said, well, let's kind of go to San Antonio and maybe Waco. And didn't make a bid in Waco, but didn't get that one. But I was fortunate enough. I made 3 or 4 bids in San Antonio, and I got 2 of them.
Yeah, I think San Antonio is going to be a tremendous better opportunity than Austin for a while.
Yeah.
Until the collapse comes, until the correction comes, whatever it ends up being.
Well, you know what? So Austin. So you have all these California people moving to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you believe the numbers, supposedly about 200 people per day are moving to Austin.
Wow.
So that's about 70 families a day, let's say. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of units that they have to go somewhere.
And the inventory's way down.
And the inventory is way down. So the last I heard, normally the healthy Austin inventory is between 4,000 and 5,000.
Okay.
It was 300 last I heard.
Wow.
Yeah. So in January, when it kind of went nuts, it was 800, which is really low. But the last I heard, it's 300. Well, that's insane, you know.
Yeah.
So but the people they're coming from California.
They're used to paying overpriced.
Well, I was going to say they're used to overpaying on housing,
Yeah.
but you know that's how it is, and so they probably have a lot of equity and things like that. And indeed, the people that bought this house for $530, I think they put 20% down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you going to start using hard money, or are you going to continue to pay cash?
I'm going to continue to, and when I say I pay cash, I might borrow for myself. So to speak.
Understood.
Yeah, you know, but I'm going to try to continue to pay cash. I don't think someone with my assets ought to be paying hard money rates.
Yeah, the only reason people with that type of money do is they are able to invest passively, so they get all their money into passive deals, and then they use hard money to flip. But you don't need to do that, so your strategy makes a lot of sense to me.
Now, there are some deals you'll find that part of the package is it's a hard money package. I've kind of stumbled on, and I'm not against hard money. I mean, if you don't have I'm very fortunate to have these assets. If you didn't have them, well, that's what you got to do. Then that's what you got to do. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm not knocking hard money. I'm just right now. I don't think it's for me. You know.
Well, final question. If you were giving advice to someone who's kind of thinking about building a second stream of income or starting to flip to build a second stream of income, what would be your advice or encouragement to them?
Well, are you sort of entrepreneurial in nature, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's a fairly reliable. I've seen these commercials all my life. Get in real estate. I ignored them all my life.
The infomercials.
Oh, that's right, the infomercials. You know, and no money down. Well, how do they do that? You know. Anyway, so you know, and here I am. I'm in it. But if you think you're sort of a self-employed kind of guy, and or part time, then I would just say, hey, you know, I mean, it's now or never. I mean, how much wealth are you going to accumulate? Even if you're making a couple $100,000 at your job,
yeah,
you know, your family's probably, you know, a couple $100,000 before tax. So now we're down to, I don't know, 140 or 130 or whatever, and then the wife's spending 100 of that. So, you know, and then you might have a toy or a beach house in Galveston or whatever. So I mean, it goes as your income goes up, you just spend more and more money. You know.
Yeah, it's called lifestyle creep.
It does. You know, and you buy nice cars. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway. But anyway, if you want to try to get in the game, so to speak, I would encourage you. Real estate is a tried and proven way to do that. You know, I mean, the former president was a real estate mogul, and he was an outsider that was elected president.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is a phenomenal story.
You know, I mean, not everybody can do that. You know.
All right, Chris, I really appreciate the conversation.
Yep,
thank you so
it.
much for coming on, and thank you for watching and listening. Have a great rest of your day.